Hey, and welcome back for this week's episode of the Activation Hour, Purpose at Work and in the World. You guys have been amazing as we've launched into season 2, which is what I've dubbed the season of unlearning. I am your host, Melissa D. White. And so I really wanted this season to be a transparent place of having a conversation about lessons we've unlearned, whether it's at work or in the world, and just on our journey to purpose. And this particular conversation it's a business one, but it's a life lesson, I believe, when we talk about protecting your purpose. And I couldn't think of anyone better to bring in on this conversation than attorney Ashlee Fox. And when I tell you this dynamo in the legal field has taken such a different approach to educating entrepreneurs, particularly as she coins it, boss women, to learn more about how to make boss moves. Ashlee Fox is an attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia, and she is my attorney. Now, you won't get the inside scoop or any of my attorney-client privilege info, but what you will get is kind of just some guidance on when you have ideas and when you want to launch out. And it can be very scary territory when you get into business, right? And so she's done a phenomenal job and has been literally legal wise counsel to me and so many other women. And so I'm excited to have today's conversation with attorney Ashlee Fox. So welcome, Ashlee, to the Activation Hour. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm excited to be here.
Guys, I have to tell you, if you're catching the YouTube stream behind the scenes, which this is a great time to not only go ahead and subscribe, because you're going to want to hear more, not only from Ashlee, but everyone this season, but you can also go to the Activation Hour YouTube channel, see her beautiful face, and catch the behind the scenes. Ashlee, it feels so good to see you face to face. We've had so many conversations about business, right? But we haven't officially met outside of social media and phone conversations. So thank you. Yeah.
I know your business, but
you know my business, but you don't know like my business. And so it's nice to have just a real conversation.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. So, and I appreciate you were so willing when I said, hey, look, I want to have a bigger conversation with you. I think more people need to hear it. Why was it important for you to join me and talk about purpose today? Why was that important to you?
You know, it is so important on so many different levels. But the first one is we have got to create a life that we love, and we have to learn how to live our purpose. And, you know, speaking to young entrepreneurs that are ready to step out and live their purpose is so important. And then on top of that, it's important to protect that purpose, because when you're living your purpose, you are spending hours dedicating time to this, to making it exactly what you want. And the last thing you want to happen is for someone to come and steal it, copy it, or for someone to tell you you have to shut that business down, that you've dedicated hours, time, and so much work into. And so it's so important that we protect our purpose.
Wow, that's so true. And, like myself, I started my business. Many of us start just really out of a passion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's my hobby and this is what I love or my calling. And we just want to help people. I just want to help until you realize like, well, helping people is great, but like there's a business behind this, and it's a real thing now that where you have to make contracts and money, and sometimes that scares people. What advice do you have on like starting to really legitimize your passion and your purpose into a real business?
You know, the first thing I say, so I'm all about building that business foundation. If you follow me on social media, I can go on and on for hours. Most of my posts about building that business foundation. And so when you are ready to step out of hustle mode, hobby mode, when you're ready to actually build that business and make that impact that you've been wanting to make and help people, you have to understand the different roles that you're going to wear. A lot of times we focus on our area of expertise when it comes to this business that we want to start. great at helping people live in their purpose. We're great at being an attorney in my instance, or we're great at being an accountant. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be great at being a business owner. And so we have to recognize the various roles that we're about to take on as we step out and live our purpose and start this business. And so it's so important that we understand that we can be great in like our zone of genius, but we also have to then step out and say, well, I'm also starting this business. What does that mean to be a boss? You know, it's more than just a title. It's more than just bragging rights. When it comes down to it, it's an actual job and duty, because if we're great at being an attorney or accountant, but we don't know how to get those clients, we don't know how to convert, then it's not going to work out. You're going to be a great lash technician, a great hairstylist without any customers, without making any money, without living in your purpose. So it's really important to know the roles you're gonna have to play and the different hats.
Wow. That's so impactful. And I can admit that is the shift, right? That I even personally experienced. And I've been introduced to so many different books to help elevate that thinking or shift your thinking. And one of my favorites is E-Myth, where it talks about, hey, shifting from technician to manager to entrepreneur. And it's like, you can be a great technician, meaning you're good at the skill and you excel at your trade or your craft, but to think like an entrepreneur, there's a very different hat you have to put on. And you do have to think about things like the protection, the operation, the team building. And so you have been like excellent at the tips you give. So let me give you guys some background, right? So Ashlee it's very unconventional. I've never seen an attorney educate in the way that she has through social media. And we've talked about this offline. I was like, man, and let me tell you, her branding is phenomenal. I mean, it's all things fun and girl boss, and just, it's like, whoa, it gets your attention, but it educates you. It's not just pretty and a bunch of fluff. It's real substance. So like, what was the thought behind that? Because I gotta admit, that's pretty unconventional for an attorney.
Thank you. And that's exactly what I wanted to do when I stepped out and decided to make my own, start my own law firm. I wanted to do something unconventional. You know, we have a stigma when it comes to attorneys and the legal profession. And quite frankly, a lot of people, Black people in particular, are hesitant to work with attorneys in the legal system because historically the law has been something that's been used against us. And so my goal in creating my law firm, one of the core pillars is to make it accessible, make it relatable. It's not something that only the elite can have access to, and particularly when it comes to protecting your business. This is not something that only the wealthy should do. You're starting your business, you need to have your assets. And so my goal in starting my law firm was making it accessible, making it relatable, so that it doesn't matter the size of your business, you understand that you have rights to your business. You have the right to own your assets. You have the right to prevent people from copying what you are doing. And so that has just always been at the forefront of everything that we're doing at Fox Legal Firm.
That's phenomenal. I love what you said about, typically, considering being able to have access to an attorney has been reserved as a right to the wealthy, like exclusive thing, when truly it's just as much, if not more necessary for the average person or people who are typically underrepresented to have access to representation. That's real power and access to knowledge in a different kind of way. So I commend you for that. It kind of shifts me to when I did my homework and really learning more about not only our business relationship, but like really who you are as an attorney. And one of the things you say on your website is your pillars are to educate, empower, and for the experience. Can you share more about, like you said, you set off, you wanted to do something unique. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. So I focused entering into law school. Anyone that's an attorney knows they have a set focus for you. They want you to be that corporate attorney that's going to go into what we call big law. Big law means big money, prestige and a lot of stress, no work-life balance. And that's not something I wanted. And so when I set out to start this law firm, I wanted to be something that was going to, like I said, be accessible, be relatable, and give my clients an opportunity to access to the education of the law, how you can use the law as a benefit and a tool to help you elevate your business to the next level. And I want to empower my clients to go out there and use the tools, the resources that we provide them, and take that business to the next level. Get those assets, right? And then, which is trademark registration, build your asset, build your IP portfolio, and turn that into another way to generate income and wealth. And so that's what we're all about. We want to educate, we want to empower you, we want to help elevate you, and in the process, we want to provide a great experience as well. And I'm just loving this journey so far, being able to step out on my own and do this.
You said something powerful, education of the law. And particularly in today's date and time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where not only the law as it pertains to my person and the protection of my rights, but then the next level of what are my rights locally and nationally as it pertains to my business. We've had extensive conversations through my journey of even copyrights and trademarks. This stuff, it can feel very foreign and intimidating to people.
Mm-hmm.
So, the topic this season is unlearning. There was a lot of unlearning, all the people think they know, right? So people say, well, I did it this way, or you should do this, you should do that. And I that's what my commitment was. I was like, no, how about I go to the expert and let the expert help me unlearn all of this bad information. Mm-hmm. So when people come to you, what are some of the main, give us a lesson in unlearning? What are some things, some myths you have to dispel right offhand when dealing with clients or potential clients?
Oh my goodness. One of the first major ones is once you have your LLC, you own your business. That is not the case at all. LLC formation does not mean that you own your branding, doesn't relate to trademark registration, doesn't relate to copyrights. Another huge myth is that you don't have to do trademark registration. It's not applicable if you're just starting your business, or even if you only been in business for 3 years. Trademark registration is something for a big business that's been in business for 5 years or more, or that's making, $500,000 a year or $1 million in profits a year. That's when you need trademark registration. Those are two of the big myths that I have to dispel in my discovery calls with business owners, because a lot of my business owners are in Facebook groups and they get a lot of advice from everyone that's not an attorney. And what happens is you get the wrong advice.
I'm so glad we touched on this. And for my listeners, I know y'all are learning. If you're in your car, you might need to pull over and take some notes on this one if you're listening. I mean, seriously, because especially in our community, everybody's like, oh, my cousin a lawyer and she told me this. Or my mama's sister, cousin, friend had a friend that went to law school. It's like, no, honey, let's get some facts here as it pertains to this, particularly in our community. So one of the other things too, you've always in your marketing and your branding, like I said, it's so much girl power and just glam. You make it fun and approachable, and you do make your client, at least for me, I know it feels like talking to a friend, and it feels you don't throw a bunch of words at me I don't know, and if I don't know, you're patient with me. Tell me why it was important to help boss women learn and educate to make boss moves. Why was that such a big mission for you?
My education, I have a master's in social work, and then my law degree, I focused on social economic justice, and particularly in the Black community. And so my law firm is a way to get at economic justice, and particularly for Black women business owners. we all know that Black women are leaving their jobs at record numbers and starting their own business because of the unfulfillment they have at their job, the underappreciation, being underpaid, overworked. And so I wanted to make it so that when I'm working with business women that are ready to make boss moves, that they know how to do it, that they feel empowered to do it, and they know that they can do it, right? A lot of times women, regardless of color, suffer from imposter syndrome, right? Always second guessing yourself, never thinking that you have the knowledge or the information to move in the circles that you're in. And so I want to give you the confidence to do that and be able to speak about your business from the rooftops and yell about it and know that you deserve to be in those rooms, to be in those meetings. You deserve to build that business. You have the knowledge and the expertise to do that. And a lot of times it's just that one person that's encouraging you to do that. And so I want to be that encourager. I want to make women feel that they can do this. You have knowledge and expertise. Stop guessing yourself.
Wow. You are like all up and through my season talking about imposter syndrome. That is so real. And that's a lesson in life and business that people don't talk about. And I think it's just now becoming a topic because we can give it a name like, no, sis, you are great. You are amazing. You're dope. You know what you're doing. Don't let that get into your head. And so now once you accept the expert you are, now you can accept the expert help that comes with it. Right. So that's so important. And then the coaching, like it's literally like legal counsel / coaching when speaking with you. And so now hearing your social work background, I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. I was like, I get it. Why I feel so much more empowered. And like I, was really helped. Truly, like you humanize it. You humanize law in a way where I can understand and receive it, and it's not so intimidating. So
thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to take a quick break, but when I come back in a second here, I want to talk more about, and I'm definitely not asking you to like spill all your legal tea here. You don't have to tell us everything, but just maybe some tips on the first steps on if it's, not only contacting, of course, an attorney, but some things that people can start to do to protect their purpose. So we'll be right back in just a moment, joined by attorney Ashlee J. Fox. All right. So to pick up on our conversation about purpose, you set so much clear intention when starting your firm on serving women, empowering them, but also, like you said, education of the law. So given today's topic about protecting your purpose, I want you to kind of free flow here and just share what are some of the main things we should know or the first steps of protection we should take for our purpose, whether it's your business, whether even if it's knowing your rights in work and working, twofold, right? You've advised me on that. Like, hey, if you are a full-time employee and an entrepreneur, there are certain rights and protections to consider. So share with us a little bit on that topic.
Sure. So the first thing when it comes to, protecting your business and taking that step is your mindset. You have to understand that protecting your business is so important. And I like to use the example of HGTV. So if you guys watch HGTV, they have so many renovation shows on there, flipping their houses. And what happens is a couple comes on and they want to renovate their house. And they have a certain amount of money that they have to update their house, to make their house look pretty. But what happens halfway through this show is that someone's going to tell them, we opened up the walls and your roof has some problems, electrical. And I've never seen a couple go on there and say, you know what, I don't care about, those underlying issues. I don't want to protect my house. I want the pretty granite. I want the ensuite. I want the really nice house. I only care about the looks. No, they say, I understand that this is going to cut into my budget. I'm not happy about it, but peace of mind and having a safe house is important to me. And that same logic is what you have to have when it comes to your business. You cannot have peace of mind if what you are building is not safe, it's not protected, and you don't have that shield. I understand that branding and aesthetics are really important when it comes to a business, but pretty branding cannot take the place of having a safe business, one that's not going to deplete your savings, one that's not going to end you up in a big lawsuit, one that's not going to open you up to a lot of liability. So the first thing when it comes to protecting your business is changing that mindset and understanding that you shouldn't have peace of mind until you have those protections in place. And so what do those protections look like? Of course, I want to talk about LLC formation or some type of business entity, because what that does is it builds a shield between you and your company. And why is that important? That's important because if anything were to happen, if anyone were to sue you, they're not going to be able to come after your personal assets. They're not going to be able to come after your house, your car, money in your personal bank account. And that's huge. They're only going to be able to sue you for the things in your business. And so that's really important when it comes to protecting yourself and your business. You want that shield. And so you want to make sure that after you form that LLC, that you function like an LLC. The second protection of this is, of course, trademark registration. You want to make sure that you are taking ownership over everything that you are building, because without that, someone can easily come and copy your business. You don't have any rights to it, any protections to send them that cease and desist. And in this day and age, we can see how easy it is for big business and companies to come in and copy the small guy, and in current events, B. Simone is now being accused of that, right? And so it's something that you might think is not going to happen to you, but you don't know what can happen in a year, 6 months from now when you're starting a business. So again, that goes back to that mindset, protecting what you are building. And then the last big protection is contracts. You want to make sure that you are utilizing contracts with everything. When it comes to hiring someone, even when you're hiring someone to take your photo, you might be paying that photographer, but they own rights to that photo unless you have a contract that says these photos are now, you're transferring those intellectual property rights to me. If you don't have a contract, your photo is still that photographer's property. And so you want to make sure that you take steps to enter into contractual agreements. So those are my big 3 steps when it comes to protecting your business.
That's so powerful what you just said. And even for me, as you were talking, I'm thinking about all the things I've done in building my brand, photo shoots, videos, all sorts of content. And ownership is this is the recurring theme I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
Protecting ownership through contract, protecting ownership through trademark. Like, that's so important that you own your purpose.
Yes.
That if you believe, hey, this is my God-given gift, my calling, whatever it is, sometimes we can become so spiritual about it that we forget that we live in a world where ownership has to be specifically declared on paper.
Yes.
And just because it was in your head, like you said, one of the myths about LLCs, right? And I've even heard, and here's the thing, from wealthy people, like I know substantial business owners, multimillionaire earners, who is like, oh, I own my domain, I own my LLC. It's like, but your name is out here wide open.
Exactly.
Like, and if someone wanted to, misappropriate or take that from you, One of the things I had always put this on my vision board, like to secure an attorney, secure the accountants, like build my team of protection, build the hedge of protection. And the number one reason why was after I saw, I think I shared this with you, had a family member, my uncle, who was really just a phenomenal male figure in my life. After he transitioned and passed away, I saw the power of having your affairs in order. But I also saw the power of transferring ownership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa. And as a Black female, I never seen that displayed or exemplified in my own community, let alone my own family.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about legacy, and I love that, if you're listening to the replay of this, Ashlee and I are having this conversation on Juneteenth, which is powerful to talk about ownership
Mm-hmm.
on a day like this. So let's go there and really talk about what does trademark and copyright mean for ownership and financial economic power to have that.
Yes, I equate it to economic justice. When you own the assets of your business, you now have the potential to pass it on, like you mentioned, legacy. You're creating generational wealth with your trademark registrations, with your business. These are assets, just like we call them intangible assets. Because although you can't hold them, you can't see them, you can own them in the same way that you can own property. And in the same way that you can pass real estate down, you can pass your trademark asset protections down. And that is huge. That's one way of creating that legacy and generational wealth. And as we know, ownership equals wealth. The more things that you own, the more things that it allows you to create that wealth. And it's so important that we take steps to do that. Black entrepreneurs are so creative, so amazing, and they really can set the foundation for so many amazing businesses. And you need to make sure that you are owning those ideas. And so when it comes to trademark registration and protection goes down to your branding of your business. It's your brand identifier. So that business name that means something to you, make sure you take steps to own that and go through that process, because if you don't, you're leaving yourself open and exposed to someone else doing that. And we don't like to think that these things can happen to us, that these bad things can happen, and they can. And to be clear, it doesn't mean that the other business owner is being malicious or they have bad intentions. A lot of times we think of names that are similar. And when it comes to trademark registration, that's all it has to be, is similar. It doesn't have to be identical. And the services don't have to be identical. Similar is enough to say you can't take ownership rights over this business and you're the one that's infringing. So it's really important.
As you described, like those ownership rights, in when you say, ownership is wealth, ownership is power. The first example that comes to mind, because it's so fresh right now, right? You've seen brands pivoting left and right on imagery and renaming. And I mean, you got Uncle Ben's and you got Aunt Your Mama. And this has been quite a week in history, American history, let alone Black history, right?
Right.
And the first thing when doing because I really wanted to I've been careful to not repost or reshare without fact checking.
Mm-hmm.
And so learning about Nancy Green, the woman who was behind the Aunt Your Mama brand, and there were debates about, was she a millionaire, was she not? One of the things that came up in reading that story was about this people who claimed they were descendants and wanted a stake at, hey, wait a minute, we actually, our family should own the rights to this. But if there was no legal recourse and they didn't win that fight on saying, hey, I'm a descendant of Nancy Green, we should have some sort of reparation, if you will, from the Aunt Your Mama brand. But so that's what's so powerful about the dialogue we're having. We see it playing out right now. What if, let's just say, that had been protected? How powerful would that be to lay claim to that? So now your descendants, your children's children
Are
can,
making money,
yeah,
are
own
leg up.
something. Yeah, that's legacy.
Right. That's legacy, and that's power, right? Because now they have something to start off. Even as simple as having money to go towards your college education, and how that's going to open opportunity because you don't have to spend, half your check paying back your student loans. It's those little things where now you have a little bit more money because maybe your family was able to give you some money to go to college. So now you can afford that house and get that mortgage and acquire an asset. And so that's why it's so important to build that legacy and to create that generational wealth so that it can go, like you said, it can be passed on and helping the next generation get that leg up. So they don't have to start from the very bottom. They have a little bit of a head start in this race.
Wow. Ashlee, I don't know if you've ever seen the video. It's like a race on equality, and it has teenagers and it was a high school teacher that facilitated this, where it says, hey, it lines all the students up in one row, black, white, and everything in between. And it says, hey, if you grew up in a 2-parent household, take a step forward. If you've never had to worry about helping to pay for household expenses for your family, you don't have to get a job as a teenager, take a step forward. If you have private tutors. And so it's a lesson in equity, or a lack of equity, where students get to see, like, wait, I do have privilege and advantage because there are things that I don't even have to consider in life. And there were many Black and brown students who were left behind in the race. And they said, okay, now when you all race, although they're behind you, understand it's not a fair race because you actually are getting a head start. And so you describing that about, hey, maybe now inherently I'm giving, someone behind me a head start on education, or now you get the seed money for that new business or venture you want to start from something that I'm doing today. That's what I picture when you say that. And for like, this is what equity looks like. You want to have equity, get ownership. Equity is ownership. That's how I see that.
Yes, exactly. And it's so important for that, and that we provide that for the next generation so that they don't have to start from the back of the finish line.
Wow, that's so powerful. Just the imagery of that. What we're doing right now helps the generation behind us, and not even just our children as direct descendants, but our children's children get a few steps ahead in the equity line. That's so amazing. The last thing I wanted to touch on as it pertains to protecting your purpose is, we talked about trademarks, but let's talk about like copyrights. One of the things I've shared with my group is I do licensing a lot, whether it's my own content or repurposing someone else's that I license. And that's such an economic opportunity that people don't even like. We're not taught that. Like, we're not even taught it in business school. And I have an MBA, and they don't know like that. Those are lessons of the wealthy and ownership. That's just not commonplace. You have to intentionally seek that knowledge. So, if you care to share or expound upon the power of IP when it comes to your purpose. There are people that are writing curriculums, especially now, like since we've been in pandemic, people have been locked in writing books and courses and curriculums, and there's so much power in the economics behind that. Touch on that a little bit.
Yes, I'm excited to talk about that. So that's what I mean when it comes down to acquiring those assets. And you can do that with trademarks and copyrights, like you mentioned. So if you have this amazing curriculum that can make a difference in high schools and middle schools, take steps to protect that through copyrights. And so the difference between, let me back up a little, the difference between trademarks and copyrights is that copyrights protects creative works. So writings like blogs, videos, photos, things of that nature. Trademarks, like I mentioned earlier, goes down to branding, your business name, color, for example, like Tiffany blue, sounds, logos, slogans, that's trademarks. And so when you are creating something, you take ownership over that and you have that asset And you can now go out there and license that to other companies that want to use that. And that's what we're talking about. That's why this is an asset, because you can generate additional income off of this business or these copyrights that you own. And so this amazing curriculum that you have that might be really great for another school, they can now license that from you and pay you substantially to use that. And the same with trademarks, this amazing brand that you've made. A lot of big businesses go out and they use licensing agreements with these smaller companies because of the target audience these smaller businesses has. They want to be affiliated with that. And so it's so important that you understand that when it comes to assets in your intellectual property portfolio, that there is income potential just within that, outside of your traditional business structure. So yes, taking steps to take ownership so that you can open up another stream of income, so important.
Phenomenal. Listen, if you are catching this, what a radical lesson in unlearning what we thought we knew about the law and protecting our purpose. Ashlee, you're so dynamic. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me on your Juneteenth. And this means so much to me. Thank you.
It was great. Thank you for having me.
So lastly, tell our audience how to connect with you so that they can learn about protecting their purpose and potentially work with you as their legal representative over their brand.
Absolutely. So you can, of course, follow me on Instagram. We are very active over there. My handle is @attorney_Ashlee. And then you can always visit my website. It's ashleejfox.com. And there you'll have access to my legal website where you can book a discovery call and speak with me on the phone.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Kudos to you, Ashlee, for all you're doing for women and for the community to educate people and learn how to protect their brand. Boss women learning boss moves. And I am so excited to be a part of that movement with you. So guys, thank you so much. If you really learned and unlearned some things in this episode, go subscribe. Make sure you get the notifications as we continue to go on this journey of unlearning together. It's my goal to make sure I bring you some of the best thought leaders and education to help us live on purpose at work and in the world. Hey, and if you want to see behind the scenes and check out my conversation with Ashlee, subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can fully watch the video. Drop comments below as we'll both be sharing insights as well. Follow her again and go to her website at ashleejfox.com so you can protect your purpose. You've been listening to the Activation Hour podcast. I'm Melissa D. White. Until next time, stay activated.